Thank you, everyone. Today being January 5th, 2023, we are hearing case number MI 2021-001-026 for 710 Montrose Street. I would like the record to show that this case is continued from May 6, 2021. Will all parties who will be testifying before the board today, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Just to explain, Vern, you were here before. You visited with us before, so I'll refresh your memory for Ian's benefit of how we'll proceed. We will give you and Ian ample time to present your case, explain the reason for your request. With that, I will call on the board one at a time to ask you questions. When the questions and answers have completed, you will be placed in a waiting room. We will go into deliberations. We will come back and we will vote on record at that particular time. You understand the way we're going to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. If you would both please identify yourself for the record.
Sure. My name is Vern Anastasio. I'm the attorney for the owner applicant. In this case, I guess it's the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, 710 Montrose.
And Ian Toner from Toner Architects.
Okay, great. Again, thank you for coming back to see us. So Ian or Vern, if you would like to start, I would like to refresh your memory from the 2021 hearing. Our initial decision based on your occupancy request of 200 was denied. After that motion was made and voted on, you expressed the fact that you would possibly consider lowering the occupancy load of the room by some. And based on that, the motion was amended to continue your case. And that's what brings us here now. So my first question, if I may, have you considered reducing the occupancy load, or are you still requesting us to consider the 198?
We're no longer asking you to consider the 200 or 198, whatever it was. What precipitated that number was the parish, St. Paul's Parish. This is actually St. Mary Magdalene Potsy Church, which is part of St. Paul Parish. What they were planning to do, they submitted a use application for special assembly in order to have weddings and events in their hall there. After talking to the immediate neighbors, they withdrew the application. So they are no longer going to be in the business of a banquet hall for the general public. They would only use the space for their congregation. And if there's 200 active families right now, I'd be surprised in the whole parish. So we can certainly reduce it. I know as a matter of right, we can do this with 150. I would like to give them some room, at 175 if possible. This is, again, a struggling parish that, if they have a spaghetti dinner for parishioners and everyone comes out and they can get 160 people in there, it would be terrible for them not to be able to do that. And that's few and far between. Again, this was initially launched thinking that they would have at least 1 or 2 weddings a weekend every weekend of the year, because they would be leasing it out to the general public. That's no longer the case. So we do have 2 restrooms right now that are already awkwardly placed. And I think Ian can speak to the fact that there's really no other space to add any additional restrooms. Is that right, Ian? In your professional opinion?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Okay.
So-
Vern, I did distribute your photographs and drawing to the board, and everyone has had an opportunity to review them. So
Right.
again, I thank you for sending that. It was very helpful.
Yeah, the two restrooms are both ADA compliant. They're right off, like, they're right next to the kitchen and they open into the event space. Not necessarily ideal, especially if you're sitting at a table over here and Granny forgets to lock the door. But, it is what it is. There's really no other space to put it additional to. And it's diminishing returns. It really doesn't make sense for them, even cost-wise, to add two additional bathrooms so they can have an extra 25 people. But we are requesting the relief based on, the difficulty that this parish has, and the hope that they can use it in a way that could benefit them without having to try and figure out another bathrooms. Otherwise, I guess they'd have to just stick to 150. But as their advocate, as their attorney, I do have to try and get them the best quote unquote deal as I can.
And you're just to clarify your testimony, you're requesting now the occupancy load of 175.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Please continue.
That's it. I think based on Mr. Toner's expert testimony that there's no real place to put an extra two, and based on my information as to the fact that they're not going to be hosting weddings on a weekly basis. They withdrew that special assembly application, and this will be strictly for for parishioners. And I've got to tell you, I've been down there for parishioner events at least a half a dozen times. If there were 50 people present, that'd be a surprise to me. It's coffee and cake after the 10:30 mass. They only have mass there once a week, 10:30. So not a whole lot of action. And I don't think there would be a whole lot of opportunity for it to be filled to the max.
Okay. If you'd be kind enough to take the drawing down, and
Yes, sir.
we'll refer back to it if necessary.
Thank you.
So what we'll do now is, just like last time, Vern, we'll proceed with some questions, starting with me. My first question is, since the hearing in 2021, has this banquet hall been in use?
It hasn't, not as a banquet hall, no.
But it has been in use as for the congregation and parishioners.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have coffee and cake down there. Again, though, never more than 50 people, and that's stretching it.
Okay.
Which is a permitted use,
No, that's
as an accessory to their services.
Yep, I got that. My next question is in the rest of the building, I seen by your photographs and then by the drawing that there is stairs going to other floors of the building. Are there any other accessible handicap or regular bathrooms available on any adjacent floors? Are you aware?
No, there's one flight of stairs that goes into the space from the sidewalk. And at the bottom of those stairs are the two accessible restrooms.
Okay.
The church itself, the house of worship on the first floor, has no restrooms whatsoever.
No, so these would be the only bathrooms in the entire building.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, perfect. I appreciate that. Before we cross-examine, I need to ask the board, prior to today, has any board member discussed any information in whole or in part with the appellate or anyone directly or indirectly connected to this case? Mike Bellata?
No.
Your answer is yes, you have had communication?
No.
Okay, thank you. And this is separate of the 21 hearing. Dave Hoffmeister,
No.
Brian Gilbert,
No.
Mike Ingram,
No.
Patrick McDonald,
No.
Sarah Poindexter,
No.
And other than L&I staff, the chairman has had no communication. Thank you. With that, I'm going to go around to the board. Mike Bellata, questions or cross examinations?
No questions.
Dave Hoffmeister,
No questions.
Mike Ingram,
No questions.
Brian Gilbert,
No questions.
Patrick McDonald,
No questions.
Sarah Poindexter,
No questions.
oh, I'm sorry, Sarah, I missed that. Bill Dobbins,
No questions.
Michelle Brisbane,
No questions.
Bob Gledhill,
No questions.
Shane McNulty.
No questions.
Thank you. Vern, with that, I think the board has no other questions. You have anything, you or Ian have anything else to add before we go into deliberations?
No, sir.
Okay,
No.
all right. With that, Stacy, we are now off record. Vern,
Mr. Chair, I want to apologize in advance. I have a 10 o'clock phone call that I have to take.
okay, well, we do have a question that's going to impact our deliberations. Are you able to answer it?
Yeah, I'm on the call right now. It's 10:01. So, but he's on hold at the moment.
Well, I'm sorry that you have a conflict, but
Okay.
our question is there a possibility that this banquet room could be used simultaneously along with church services?
No, church services are only at 10:30 in the morning. The banquet facility is used after church by parishioners, or it may be an evening event like a spaghetti dinner. But no, not simultaneously.
Okay. All right, thank you. Stacy.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Ian.
Go ahead.
Ian, are you familiar with, I understand that you're an architect, not a plumbing engineer. Are you familiar with the bathrooms in this basement? Is there a vent stack to vent those two bathrooms in that back wall along with that back wall separating the bathrooms from the closet room?
I can't answer that. Those were there before I was ever there. So if there is one, it's concealed. And I didn't see it, but I didn't look for one either.
I have one question
Thank you.
too before we deliberate. The building that was demolished, did that have any interior connection to the church,
No.
or it was a completely separate building?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Any other questions from the board? All right.
We are
Stacy?
confirming there is no bathroom on the first floor, correct?
We are,
There's no bathroom in the
Okay.
church, right?
No, no questions. Sorry.
okay. Stacy, we can now go back off record. Phil, if you would put, please. Okay, we continue to hear the case MI 2021-001-026 for 710 Montrose. Board, what say you?
Make a motion to approve with the proviso of the 175 occupancy.
Second it.
Ian, I would like to explain before we vote what the provision means. So the Vern testified that the owner would be willing to reduce the occupancy load to 175. There's been a motion made and seconded to approve the variance request based solely on the 175 occupancy load. I want you to understand that. This way you can explain it to Vern after the vote has been rendered. You understand that, Ian?
Yep, makes sense.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll continue to vote. So this vote is to concur with the motion to approve based on the occupancy load of 175. Mike Bellata,
Approve.
Dave Hoffmeister,
Approve.
Mike Ingram,
Approve.
Brian Gilbert,
Approve.
Patrick McDonald,
Sorry, I was on mute. Approve.
thank you. Sarah Poindexter,
Deny.
thank you. And the chair votes in the affirmative. The record will indicate by majority vote the motion to approve the variance request for the occupancy load of 175 with the existing fixtures has been approved. Andy, do you have any questions on behalf of the owner?
No, I just procedurally, so do we just revise our drawings and resubmit back to LNI with that revised occupancy count? And I guess we attach your ruling to that, and then that's, is that our next step here?
Shane?
It's not like a zoning plan. The proviso is just the new occupancy count. So I'm fairly certain that after we do all of our documentation, you just upload that as revisions. The examiner will see the proviso and make the approval based on that.
Okay, so I don't need to revise the drawing where I note the occupancy?
I don't believe so, no. I think they'll see
Okay.
the proviso.
Great.
You're
Less
more
for
or
me
less
to do.
just
That's wonderful.
uploading the decision, you know.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, with no other questions or comments, case number MI 2021-001-026 is concluded. Stacy, we are now off record. Thank you. Today being January 5th, 2023, we are hearing case number MI 2022-007-622 for 1411 South Mildred Street. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Walt Krasnowski. I'm the chairman of the Plumbing Advisory Board, and I would like to explain to you a couple matters of procedure today. Unfortunately, we are unable to hear your case today. We are unable to hear your case because there has been no refusal issued by the Department of License and Inspection for your property, and there has been no preliminary plan review for plumbing requested by either the owner or the design team. The only way that the Plumbing Advisory Board is able to hear cases and discuss cases is if there's first a refusal or an application made for preliminary application for review. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to hear your case today. Mr. DeMarco, you're welcome to comment.
Well, yeah, that makes no sense. I mean, the owner has been denied his proposal for the water service to the property. There's a very broad section of the administrative code that allows all of the technical boards to consider alternate forms of construction for all the technical issues. This is the issue that's holding up this development. I see the language in the administrative code as very broad. It says basically any refusal, transfer, suspension of any license, any permit is appealable to the board. I mean, we're not going to get anywhere, and I'll admit, Mr. Chairman, that I'm not. I don't have the technical terms in front of me as to what the water department has done, but they are, as from what I understand, they're denying our proposal for water service. So I don't know what what we need in order to get in front of this board. I think when you see the merits of the case, you'll agree, at least you'll be sympathetic to this particular applicant, what he's trying to do. I guess we're not going to get to that today, but, you know, I guess I would, I don't know if I see Jim Kerfoot on the call, but if he could unmute and maybe he could just offer one comment as to where we're on the process. I assume that we are dead in the water right now, so I'm not sure what
Well,
our next step would be.
if I may, I can comment to that. You said
Okay,
the owner was refused. The owner was refused by who?
water department.
Water Department. So the Plumbing Advisory Board is an extension of L&I. L&I takes jurisdiction from the curb line in. So the Plumbing Advisory Board is an arm of L&I. So we're not an arm of PWD, even though we take all PWD's regulations into consideration. So lawfully and legally, this board being an extension of L&I, the reason we're not able to hear your case today is because there has been no refusal, official refusal by L&I, or there has been no official preliminary plumbing plan review completed by L&I that would drive you coming to this particular board.
All right, I would only
May-
add.
may
Hold
I
on, Peter,
comment?
let me say one more thing and then I'll let you speak. Peter's the owner, by the way. So we did have a scenario where we did not have a denial and we had to file a review with the water department to get that denial so I could take an administrative appeal. So I thought that I had corrected that. But anyway, go ahead, Peter. What do you want to say?
The original building permits for this property, by the way, the renovation of this property is for my own personal home. The original application for permits on this property were taken out, I believe, in 2019 by the architect that I'd hired at the time. And I paid him to take me through the application process and the permitting process. It has clearly been several years that this thing has not been dormant, but that I've been asking for, what do I do next to make this happen? And I don't seem to be able to get anything other than verbal comments. It's very difficult to get a formal written, no, you can't do this, yes, you can do this, that isn't part of a form letter. And I would ask the board what I should do.
Okay, that's fair enough. And Peter, we have reviewed the information that you provided, and we appreciate that. And trust me, we would like nothing more than to hear the case and discuss it with you, but you have to understand, you know, the legal parameters in which this board operates under. Peter, what the board would suggest to you would be to file for a preliminary plumbing plan review with the department. Shane McNulty, am I addressing that correctly?
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah, I thought that's what we filed.
So, I can understand how if you don't do it very often, it's a complicated process. This is probably essentially going to be new construction, even though there is an existing structure there, which requires a utility plan be submitted to PWD for them to grant permission for connection. So what they're doing is currently they're denying your permission to connect,
Correct.
essentially, right?
Right.
So normally what happens is they grant that approval, and after that approval is received, then you can apply for your official plumbing permits with the Department of License and Inspections. In this particular instance, what you have to do is file for a preliminary plumbing plan, preliminary review for the plumbing work, right? L&I is going to review it, and they're going to see two things. They're going to identify anything that's not code compliant with the Philadelphia Plumbing Code, and they're going to identify that you do not have an approved utility plan. With those two things in place, what we're going to do is issue you a formal refusal, right? So you can then appeal our decision to the Plumbing Advisory Board.
So when I filed on Eclipse, so I tried to get involved and tried to help because there was seemed to be an impasse for Peter. I filed a water department review document, I mean, on Eclipse, and I got comments back, and
That's, yeah, but that's the, I know.
that's not the full thing. What am I
That's
missing?
not, you
That's-
want to, that's for the water department.
Right.
Like essentially, this
All right.
is in place because the water department's jurisdiction is from the curb out. And if you were to apply to us and we were to issue you a permit, theoretically, you can't do it, but theoretically, you could install a complete plumbing system within your property line. And then the Philadelphia Water Department would say, you can't connect to our infrastructure. So it doesn't help anyone. So you go to them first for their connection approval. So that's the process you started. They then said, well, we can't grant you connection approval because we see that there are certain code items that can't be met or aren't being met. So then that forces you to apply to license and inspections probably earlier than you would have. And that's why it's a preliminary plan review. So
So-
essentially you're going to apply to us and say, we've submitted our utility plan to the water department and they have denied us. We're requesting a review and a refusal be issued so we can appeal to the plumbing advisory board and possibly be granted a variance. Right? If we grant the variance, right, you would then show that variance to the water department and say, hey, I'm just using examples now, right?
Right.
Hey, I know this wasn't code compliant, but L&I just gave us a variance saying that they're okay with issuing the permit. Can we have our connection permit now? You know what I mean? Like it's a very cumbersome process. I understand. Welcome to Philly.
Yeah, all right, so I have to, even though I don't have approval from water, I have to apply to L&I for and get
Yes.
denied? Okay,
Yes.
Okay, but we have already applied to L&I to get building permits. And they were denied because we didn't have water permit.
So
Yeah,
what
I-
address would that be under?
That would be under 1411-15 South Mildred Street.
15. Oh, hold on. That changes things. Hold on.
Well, he's looking that, Mr. DeMarco, this is what an official refusal would look like. And this is how we're able, this is from L&I and it's an official refusal. And it's documented within the system of L&I, which then allows this board to become involved upon your request.
I believe we have one of those, don't we?
It's not provided and the department could not provide it to the board.
yeah,
my
Peter, I
understanding-
haven't seen an official refusal yet. It might exist, I haven't seen it.
It's in none of the documents, Peter, that you provided to the board's administrator.
Oh, no, yeah, no, that's for sure. I don't have one, but I'm saying perhaps it exists if Peter filed for building permits, which that's my understanding as well. I wonder why there hasn't been a refusal. Maybe that's where the issue is. Maybe
So,
Mr.
so,
McNulty. Go ahead.
so I was able to locate the address now, right? So essentially what's going on is you can, I hate to say forget about it. Forget about anything that was going on in 2019. You have two current and applications in the system right now. One for a residential alteration addition permit, which is in revisions required, which means essentially a revisions required is not a refusal. It is just telling you that these code items need to be addressed. These plan review items need to be addressed. You also have a zoning permit in there, which is essentially doing the same exact thing. Now, the zoning permit is saying, hold on one second. Mark up.
Mr.
But the-
DeMarco, just so you understand, Shane McNulty is our L&I liaison to the board. Shane McNulty does work for L&I.
Well,
Right.
this is the guy we need to talk to, obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, so your zoning application is doing the same thing. Neither one of those applications is refused. Both are just saying revisions are required. So before you can get a permit approval for your zoning or your building, the plans themselves require revisions. You make sense? kinda?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got,
Mr. McNulty, may we contact you directly in order to get some directions to how to do this?
If you're into an office.
or maybe we can email.
Yes, I will give you, we'll have them send you out my email address and then you can email me directly. I will say that my specialty is specific to plumbing and electrical permits, but I can kind of guide you through the process.
We certainly appreciate that.
All right.
Well, we're sorry we couldn't hear your case today. We hope that at least you're leaving with some fruitful information on how to proceed now. So we hope that we at least helped you out in some fashion.
Thank you. I believe you have.
Yeah, no, it's helpful. We're gonna have, Peter and I are gonna have to talk to the architect and see why we can't get refusal. All I just want to say is I don't want to, what's going to make us all pull out our hair is if we go back to L&I and L&I says, no, you have to, there's another missing piece. That's what I'm worried about. But all right, I think I understand it. Thank you. Can we postpone this though and not lose the, at least, are you going to dismiss the appeal or can we, can you give us 45 or 60 days to work
So,
this out?
so we assume we're going to see you back.
Okay, great.
So we are
Very good.
we're going to conclude this case when we're done our discussion, and you will, with the
Okay.
proper documentation, you'll reapply to the board.
Well, it's free, so I that's not going to be an issue, I suppose.
It's not free.
No, we don't have an appeal fee.
There isn't there will be an appeal fee, which you'll discuss with Mr. McNulty at that time. There is a fee.
There is an, you're in front of us without a refusal, so you didn't pay an appeal fee. When you get the formal refusal, there is an appeal fee attached, but you didn't lose any money for hanging out with us today, which is nice.
Maybe I should buy the beer.
Is your email, thank you, Mr. McNulty, is shane.mcnulty@phil.gov?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
All right. Thank you again, and we hope we were able to offer some clarity to you today. Case number MI 2022-007622 is now concluded.
Thank you
Stacy,
for your time.
not a problem. You're welcome. Stacy, we are off record.